From FedEx Forum and the American Home Shield Studio, this is The Odds Couple on GrindCityMedia.com. Handicapping all the football action, here's Rob Fischer and Lang Whitaker.
And hello, good people. Welcome to The Odds Couple as we get set for week 3 of the college football season. Rob Fischer and Lang Whitaker with you. Got a busy show for you today. Vinnie Verno will be stopping by as he does each week. Also, Lance Taylor will be joining us from Birmingham. Get his thoughts on the action coming up this week. A lot of FCS battles this week, but a couple of conference games and some other ones that we will get into of intrigue this week. We'll have our picks. And we'll go off the grid, have an NFL pick, all of that coming up here on The Odds Couple. Hello, Lang.
Hey, week 3's got to be the worst week of the college football. Just writ large, it's like you said, a lot of FCS.
Yeah.
All the big teams who've played one or two tough games want a week off or don't want to play somebody good.
This is kind of the bye week. Heading into, then we start getting into some ranked battle. I mean, there's like nothing ranked battles going on this week at all. Thanks to Stanford losing last week.
Thanks to South Carolina being terrible, too.
And thanks to South Carolina being terrible. By the way, before we get going, I do want to mention this. Last week, Tennessee, BYU, I feel that I should get credit for that because even though I picked Tennessee, I did tell everyone that it was a stupid pick. I said, this is a stupid pick. Yeah. Don't pick Tennessee, but I'm taking them. So I basically told the people not to take Tennessee, so I should get a little credit, right?
I should get credit, too, because not only did I pick BYU, I told other people to pick BYU. I said there was a broken ATM in Knoxville spitting out money. Go line up and take BYU, and we were right.
What are a few things you learned from
That's
week 2?
That's one of the things I learned, man. We're going to call Jeremy Pruitt. We're going to call him the captain now because he's the captain of the Titanic. That thing is going down. It's not just the Vol Navy that has ships sinking out there in the river. It's Tennessee is too. One other thing I learned, Texas A&M kind of is who I thought they were. Okay, good team, but I don't think they're at that level.
Will they get one? They got Clemson now out of the way. They have Alabama. They have LSU. Will they have Georgia? Will they get one of them?
I don't think so. If anyone, maybe Georgia, but I don't think LSU or Alabama. I don't think they can keep up with those guys. I mean, Kellen Mond banged up in that game, but they kind of held him in check for the most part.
And got that late cover.
Yeah. Jimbo was working. They called a timeout to get that late cover. I was like, come on. What was the better late cover, that one or Kentucky?
I'm not happy about that one either. I got burned on both late covers from SEC coaches. Thanks.
I mean, the Kentucky one was, I don't know. I was going to say that was more defensible because the quarterback, Terry Wilson was hurt and they had the backup in and they were trying to let him
work on some things.
I don't know. They didn't. I don't. Jimbo called a timeout.
Yeah,
to draw up a play on 4th and 1 at the goal. The other thing I would take away from last week is that Joe Burrow is real. I know we talked a lot about him heading into the season, and could he be good enough to make that team we know they have a good defense. We know offensively they had some weapons out there, but would Burrow push them to the next level? And 471 yards, 4 TDs against Texas. And on the season, Burrow now 9 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's been fantastic.
Yeah, and that's where I start. 9 touchdowns, 522 yards per game for Joe Burrow so far. Not just that LSU's offense is real. A coached team's offense is for real. Yeah. It's amazing. I've always thought LSU's been kind of a boring team to watch. Very good, very talented, but kind of boring, just – cloud of dust kind of offense.
Give it to Fournette.
But now it's just they've caught up with everybody else. And, I mean, after 2 weeks and to do what they did against Texas, you have to believe that that's who they are now.
And maybe defensively they're not as good as we might have thought they were. I mean, Texas, Ellinger shredded them.
Although their offense isn't helping their defense being out on the field a lot, too.
Yeah, but Ellinger had 400 yards, 4 TDs. He was really good. And we know he's good. We know that Texas offense is good. But I thought LSU defensively was going to show up a little bit more in that game, and they didn't.
Also learned Arkansas. I don't know if they can win an SEC game. I don't.
I told you they're going to go over. I think.
Predicted it before the season. I don't see where they're going to get a win.
Hey, they're changing quarterbacks though.
Yeah, well, this week we'll see what happens. Yeah, Nick Starkel, the old Texas A&M quarterback.
Ben Hicks and then that's Chad Morris's guy. He's
right.
he's trying something here.
Yeah, so we'll see with Arkansas, but I don't think they'll win an SEC game. And Vanderbilt, the big thing with Vanderbilt right now, where's Keyshawn Vaughn with this vaunted offense that they thought they were going to have coming into this year? They got Kalijah Lipscomb, who's very good, and Keyshawn Vaughn, great running back. He's got 130 total yards in 2 games. That's kind of surprised me a little bit with Vandy these 2 games.
Well, one of those games was against Georgia, and they have a really good defense, so it's tough for him to get going that one.
And never really got going against Purdue. We're playing catch-up, really, that entire game. Couple of games, LSU, of course, a big win over Texas last week. Another one, Texas A&M falling at Clemson last week. 24-10 was the final score. A&M falls to 2-15 all-time against number 1 teams in the country. Trevor Lawrence, 268 yards, a touchdown, also ran for a score as Clemson won their 17th straight. Jimbo Fisher, afterwards, talking about the loss to the Tigers.
Congratulations to Clemson. They played a really good football game, very physical, good football team, made the critical plays when they had to make critical plays. Our guys, I thought we played hard. I didn't think we played particularly well at times. I thought they did a good job mixing and matching some things. We made adjustments and had opportunities to make plays. But you got to make critical plays at critical moments to keep pressure going back and forth in the game. And, they're a good football team. We have a good football team, but we have to play better. And I have to coach them better, and that's on me to get them in the right positions at the right time and make sure they can understand what's going on and play better, because we have a good team. And like I say, they're a good team, so we just didn't play well enough today to do what we need to do.
Only 53 rushing yards for A&M, 9 penalties for 85 yards. And you look at those other games they got. Alabama as it is at home in College Station. Georgia is in Athens. LSU is in Baton Rouge. So the only home one is Alabama, the toughest one.
And Clemson might not be the best defense they played out of all those teams. Clemson might have the worst defense out of all those teams. And they lost their tailback down for the season. Texas A&M did. So they're juggling things around a little bit. Like I said, we knew going into this, Texas A&M had a tough schedule, not as hard as South Carolina's, but a tough schedule, and we thought they were going to have to pick off one of these teams to finish 8 wins, 9 wins, and I don't know. I don't think they have it in them.
And they might have a really good team and finish with 7 wins this year. That's kind of the problem with their schedule that they have this year. Tennessee, meanwhile, they fall again to BYU in overtime, double overtime, 29-26, despite 418 yards. 0-2, first time since 1988. Consecutive home losses to start a season, first time since 1980. And again, just a horrendous way to finish that game. It's laughable what's going on in Tennessee right now.
I was laughing. It was hilarious watching the end of that game. Yeah, it was fantastic to watch. I just don't know, it would sort of be a dream scenario for me if Pruitt gets fired and you bring in Jim Chaney to run the show. I mean, just more money being printed up there in Knoxville. Yeah. Is Fulmer waiting in the wings? What's going to happen here?
That couldn't turn out well either if they were to do that.
Couldn't do worse.
That's Fulmer's guy, though, too. And you can't just keep changing coaches.
Yeah, but that's his guy, but it was also their 6th choice, right? He was pretty far down the list. Maybe this is why. Yeah,
here's Jeremy Pruitt, head coach of Tennessee, on the loss to BYU.
That was a great football game. We obviously come out on the wrong end of it. It's a tough one to swallow. It's hard to figure out how do you lose that game, but then when you start thinking about it, there's 2 4th and 1s in the game that we don't get. We have 2 guys running open right before the half for touchdowns that we don't hit. We end up settling for a field goal. We turn the ball over in the red area. We don't get a turnover. We got 1 turnover in 2 weeks. And then give up a 70-yard play with 17 seconds left on the clock. So it's hard to figure that one out.
They're okay this week, right? Chattanooga
Mox. It's a 28-point. Last I saw was the spread. That's 4 touchdowns. Do you think they can cover that?
You would think so, but I don't know at this point because it's a disaster.
So.
I'm not going to shave, by the way, until Tennessee wins.
Oh boy.
Unless they lose this week to Chattanooga.
You're going to look like one of the Duck Dynasty guys in a couple
unless they lose this week. So I'm expected to win because after that it's Florida, Georgia, Mississippi State, Alabama, South Carolina, UAB. Mississippi State and South Carolina don't look like wins.
I think they might be Mississippi State, but I don't know. It's going to be – do you think Pruitt survives this?
I don't know. There's a lot of time, I guess, left.
Yeah. What does he have to do to survive? If they finish 6-6,
6-6, I think he'd be okay. Get into a bowl game, I think he'd be fine. And a lot of it depends on what happens in the last game of the regular season. You go 5-7 and lose to Vanderbilt to close out the season for the fourth straight year, I think there are problems.
Yeah, I think so.
But you go 6-6 and win that last game against Vanderbilt, maybe you just say, hey, he's just getting his players in. They're just starting to go. And can he get a win like he had last year? Had 2 good wins against 2 ranked opponents last year, at Auburn on the Plains and at home against Kentucky, a ranked Kentucky team. If they can get a win like that somewhere, but the way they're playing right now, you don't know where that's going to go.
They keep shooting themselves in the foot. I don't think they're going to be this bad all year. At some point, we make fun of it, but, they've been unlucky. And at some point, that's going to turn around, and they're going to get some breaks to go their way. But his metaphor in the press conference this week about the Titanic and the mice running to jump off the ship and stuff, I don't know if he meant to make that that analogy or not, but it's pretty apt because the ship be sinking.
Yes. And BYU's got an interesting one this week. They're getting 4 points, taking on USC at home this week as Tennessee now dips into FCS competition, taking on Chattanooga. Speaking of this week, an in-conference tilt, a couple of them in the SEC, including Alabama on the road at South Carolina to take on the Gamecocks. Alabama, a 25-point favorite at South Carolina. Total is 60 in this ball game. Alabama's won 33 straight games as a double-digit favorite against the SEC, 19-14 against the spread in those 33. They've won 24 straight against the SEC East, 17-7 against the spread in those 24. They've won 84 straight against unranked opponents. They're 82-57 against the spread on the road since 1992. And South Carolina's lost 8 of 10 against the SEC West, 15-16 against ranked opponents. Head-to-head for the last 6 meetings have gone over. Here's Will Muschamp, head coach of the South Carolina Gamecocks, talking about this week's opponent, Alabama.
As far as beating Alabama, you got to go beat Alabama. They're not going to beat themselves. They're very well coached. They've got really good players. They're going to attack you in all 3 phases, and that's how you've got to approach that game as far as beating that football team. Nick's done a fantastic job. He's the best football coach in college football history. The consistency that he has maintained at Alabama is pretty phenomenal. In this league is very difficult, and but you got to go beat Alabama. You can't hope and wish something's going to happen. You got to go beat them.
South Carolina, 72 points and 775 yards against Charleston Southern last week. 493 on the ground. Ryan Helinski, the new quarterback for the Gamecocks.
I just don't know if they can. I want to see if they can just cover the 25. I don't think there's no way they beat Alabama, but can they cover the 25? Because for South Carolina, it does not get any easier from here. They've got at Georgia, against Florida. I think they play Texas A&M, home against Clemson at the end of the season. We know they have the toughest schedule in college football. They could either pack it up right here, get their butt kicked by Alabama, and just be like, all right, that's it, or see if they get a little fight in them, come to play in this game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what South Carolina can do. They've done a great job keeping opponents under 30 points under Will Muschamp, but Alabama's a different animal. We'll see what happens.
This might be a game Tua plays all 4 quarters.
Could be. Could be.
We don't see many of those. This might be one of those.
Florida at Kentucky, another SEC tilt. Florida 9-point favorite in this one with the total at 51. Florida's won 11 of 14 road openers, 13 of 14 SEC openers. A lot of those SEC openers have been against Kentucky. Kentucky, however, has covered both games this year, despite me going against them in both games. Both of their games have also gone over. They've won 8 of their last 9 at home, just 5-11 against the spread at home, their last 16, but they have covered the last 2, over in 6 of their last 7, but they have lost 8 of their last 11 SEC openers. Head-to-head, Kentucky's covered the last 2 against Florida. Florida's won 31 of the last 32, last year being the only one that Kentucky's won in the last 32 years. And Florida 32-4 against Kentucky when they're ranked, but they did lose last year as well. Here's Mark Stoops. They got a new quarterback, Terry Wilson, going down with an injury. Here's Stoops on his QB.
Greatly appreciate what Terry has done for us and the leadership that he's given this team and the way he's played the past year and 2 games. So it's been a long time since somebody's helped us win 12 out of the 15 starts that he had. So that's quite an accomplishment for Terry. I believe that only Alabama in the SEC has a better record over those 15 games than us, and we'll miss him this season. But excited to watch Sawyer grow and to give him the opportunity to lead us, and we're confident in him.
Sawyer Smith, quarterback now for Kentucky. Kentucky had a quarterback that couldn't throw.
Yeah.
Now they have the guy that was behind him.
For 2 games. Like, this guy's a transfer from Troy who, no one's seen this guy play really. He came in through a 54-yard touchdown pass his first play of the game when he got in last week. So we'll see if he's able to do it. I just think, we knew that with Kentucky lost a lot of guys last year. Wilson was the guy coming back. As you said, he was the worst quarterback in the SEC, passing quarterback. Without him, it seems like maybe there's a little upgrade on the passing game. Maybe they try to play more vertical in this game. I just think Florida, they looked so bad against Miami because they kept screwing up. Turkey Franks was throwing interceptions. They were getting penalty calls all the way down the field. If they clean that stuff up and they've had time to work on that, you feel like they're probably 9 points better than this Kentucky team.
Yeah, and they had a week to clean it up with Tennessee Martin as well. And Felipe Franks, 25 of 27, 270, and 2 touchdowns. Pretty efficient day for Franks last week. All right, we'll have picks on those games. We'll talk more about those games coming up with Lance Taylor in our next segment. But first, it is time for that special appearance that we get every week from the great Vinnie Verno as he makes his way to the studio. Music's playing. Vinnie Verno, ladies and gentlemen.
1-0. I make picks, you make money. I make picks, you make money. Now, you may be saying, Vinnie Verno, why are you wearing a Tennessee jersey?
Right, why are you wearing a Tennessee jersey?
Go over to Goodwill, there's 1 million of them. I'm just kidding. I didn't get it at Goodwill. I was walking down the street and the bum handed it to me. He said, I might be a bum, but I don't want to wear the uniform. First game, only game, 1-0.
We get 1 game.
Central Florida is a 7.5-point favorite against Stanford. Finally, a Power 5 team is going down to Orlando, and they are in trouble. Only 4 times of the last 28 games that Central Florida has played have they failed to beat their opponent by double digits. And now the line is under double digits. Now, last week, Stanford played against USC, and they got buried by 25 points. And you say, well, Vinnie Verno, they didn't have Abbott and Costello, or whatever their quarterback's name is. Who's on first? He doesn't know. He's got scrambled brains. They also lost their best tackle for the season. Dead, absolutely dead. Meanwhile, Central Florida, they have not 1, not 2, 3 quarterbacks. 3. First week. By the way, they've averaged 634 yards and 55 points a game. First week, Brandon Wimbush started. Second week, Dylan Gabriel started. Now, this week, Dario Mack Jr., he's back too. So they got 3 quarterbacks. Their coach, Josh Heupel, he said we have what we like to call not a quarterback controversy, but a quarterback prosperity.
Oh.
And we will have money prosperity because, as we know, what does a Golden Knight do to a tree? He pisses on it. That's what he does. And the Golden Knight is going to take a golden shower on the trees this week. Stanford has not been the same since Andrew Luck quit. What a loser. Central Florida minus 7.5. The Power 5 comes and they get beat by not 1, not 2, 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
3 touchdowns in Orlando. Central Florida minus 7.5. Game of the year. 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. Bum uniform. I'm a winner. You're a loser. Good night.
Central Florida wins by 3 touchdowns, according to Vinnie Verno, with 3 quarterbacks. 2. 3. Yeah, you said 3. 3 touchdowns, 3 quarterbacks. Central Florida. We take a break here on The Odds Couple. We come back. Lance Taylor joins us from Birmingham. Get his thoughts on the games of this week and his thoughts on last week as well. We'll do that when we return here on The Odds Couple on Grind City Media.
All-American Roadshow. Saturday, October 5th, FedEx Forum, with special guests Brothers Osborne and Kendall Marvel. Chris Stapleton. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com.
Join up, Grizz Nation. Pick up the best seats at the best prices to see your Grizz face the Lakers, Warriors, and more with Grizzlies 2019-20 season tickets. MVP season ticket members get exclusive access to events, seat upgrades, discounts on gear, and more. Tickets start at $9 per game. Call 901-888-HOOP or click Grizzlies.com to purchase your seats today.
Attitude MMA Fights is returning to FedEx Forum's Grand Lobby for a night of action on Saturday, September 28th. Tickets are on sale now and available at Ticketmaster.com. Also by phone at 800-745-3000 or at FedEx Forum box office.
Multi-platinum selling hip-hop star Kevin Gates is bringing the classic mayhem Kevin Gates and Friends to the FedEx Forum stage on Friday, September 13th. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com, by phone at 800-745-3000 or at the FedEx Forum box office.
Welcome back to GrindCityMedia.com, live from FedEx Forum and the American Home Shield Studio. Now, here's more of the Odds Couple, Rob Fischer and Lang Whitaker.
All new 1022 and flex packs for the Grizzlies 2019-20 season are on sale now. Save big on single game prices and guarantee you seats to the best games and promotions for the upcoming year, including the Lakers, Warriors, and more. Choose from half season, weekend, and big game plans. Plus, enjoy extended payment options all starting at $12 per game. Call 901-888-HOOP or shop at Grizzlies.com. Welcome back to the Odds Couple. Rob Fischer, Lang Whitaker with you here as we get you set for week 3 of the college football season. And we talked about the Tennessee BYU game, dumb pick by me last week. I told you it was a dumb pick, though, to begin with, so at least I admitted it right up front. I just couldn't see it happening again. Because I couldn't see it happening. Like I can't see him losing to Chattanooga either. Tennessee falls 29-26. Jeremy Pruitt apparently thinks there was one problem, and he made it very obvious in his post-game press conference. Here's Jeremy Pruitt on the problem being turnovers.
We fumbled the ball on second and goal at the 1, turning the ball over. No turnovers on defense. It's going to be hard to win. Not creating any turnovers. We're going to have to be a team that creates a bunch of turnovers. You know, we drop a dadgum punt. We missed fielding the ball there. Don't field a punt. Well, I saw the ball on the ground 3 times. We got balls that's hitting us all over in the head and the hands. That's not very good. We got to take care of the ball. The first thing with running back is taking care of the football. Am I disappointed in our guys? I'm not disappointed in them. I'm just telling you the truth. Wednesday, there was 2 balls on the ground. How many balls were on the ground today? 2 more, right? Turn the ball over 3 times, don't get any turnovers. We're going to have to find guys who can play the ball and finish on the ball. If you don't fumble the football, then the ball is going to be on the 1-foot line. Take the ball where it's at and let's play it again, you know? But we got to do a better job creating some turnovers.
Turnovers?
Yeah, turnovers apparently the problem.
There was a dadgum in there, too.
There was, which was always great. Joining us now from WJOX in Birmingham, co-host of the Roundtable. You can reach him on Twitter at @TheLanceTaylor and also check out Lance'sLock.com. Lance Taylor joins us here on the Odds Couple. Hello, Lance.
That is your guy, Tennessee Volunteer fan. That is the next Nick Saban. It's so funny, guys, because I swear to God, last year, if you would ask every other Alabama fan who was going to be Nick Saban's replacement one day, they all would say Jeremy Pruitt. Now everybody will not admit that they ever said that.
Yeah.
They'd rather have Lane Kiffin now.
Yeah.
And for the record, I had BYU. I was sweating it, though. I was afraid.
Yeah.
I didn't mind Tennessee winning the game. I kind of wanted to see Pruitt get the win. I just didn't want to scoop and score or a pick six, and that 3rd and 6 with 20 seconds left to go 64 yards and to set up the game-tying field goal. Unacceptable.
I was happy because I think I should also get credit for the Eastern Michigan pick last week, and I was happy that you confirmed that, Lance. We saw a coach in the SEC last week try to cover a point spread, and Mark Stoops.
I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. And you can say what you want. I've got to get Sawyer Smith some work. Eastern Michigan had tapped out. They weren't trying to do anything. You ran the football, under 2 minutes to go. They're not taking timeouts. You're up 2 touchdowns, and then you start throwing for the end zone. We earned that win, fellas. We earned it. I loved Eastern Michigan in that spot, and to lose like that. And, you know, I'd already lost a little earlier in the day with Jimbo Fisher playing like that final possession of Super Bowl 54. So I had Clemson minus the big number. Felt great about that all day, and that game felt more like a 28-point game than a 14-point game. And then I have Eastern Michigan. Ended up still a solid day, but I just could not believe those backdoors. Those really hurt.
Yeah, they sure did. What else did you learn last week from the SEC?
Well, I think LSU's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, going into the season, I thought Joe Burrow was a very average quarterback. You know, I'd heard all year that Joe Brady was going to instill this new passing game, that they were going to spread it out and take advantage of their athletes. And I'd heard this before when Matt Canada took the job a couple of years ago. Didn't believe it. Now I got to believe it. It might have been a Big 12 Texas team, but that's still on the road. That's still 471 yards from Burrow. That's still showing me that Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and Terrence Marshall, the receivers that can really make plays. So I was really, really impressed with LSU. And, you know, we've all known that Alabama and Georgia are Alabama and Georgia, and most people believe that they'll meet again in December. But I do believe that LSU is going to at least be tricky. If that game was in Baton Rouge in November against Alabama, I think it would really be interesting. I still think Alabama wins that game, but I think LSU is going to be a factor all year.
Alabama's got a conference tilt this week. They go on the road to South Carolina. South Carolina with new quarterback Ryan Helinski put up ridiculous numbers last week against an FCS opponent, no less. But South Carolina, tough one against Alabama, and you just expect Alabama to keep rolling this week despite a big number?
Yeah, it is a huge number. I've seen it's crept up to 25.5. You know, the amazing thing, Alabama, since that loss to South Carolina back in 2010, where, by the way, they were a 6.5-point favorite, and you look at how different Alabama is. They were dominant then, winning national championships surrounding that year in 09 and 11, but only 6.5 points on the road. Now they're 25.5-point favorites in Columbia. That's a little bit of an indictment on where this South Carolina program is. They've won 24 consecutive games against SEC East opponents since losing that game in 2010 to South Carolina. You know, Nick Saban's 16-0 against former assistants. He's 10-5 against the number as a visiting favorite since 2015. So he's been good in these spots. But on the other side, Will Muschamp, 10-3 as a dog since 2017. Ryan Helinski looked the part, and I think Muschamp did a pretty good job of at least, you know, instilling some excitement back to South Carolina and their fan base, letting Helinski kind of bust loose, and they went for 775 yards and 72 touchdowns, or 72 points, but that was against Charleston Southern. Different animal here. I know the public's all over it, but I think I'm going to back Alabama here. I got burned on them Saturday. I laid the 55.5, and I still can't believe New Mexico State, maybe the worst team in the FBS, scored 10 points in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, and that was pretty shocking. Florida at Kentucky this week. Kentucky got them last year for the first time in over 3 decades. Florida, they had a week off, and then they came back against Tennessee Martin and blew them out like they should. Kentucky has covered their first 2 games. They've gone over in their first 2 games, but now without Terry Wilson, that number under 10.
Well, they haven't beaten Florida in consecutive seasons since 76-77. And I don't know how to gauge this Florida team. I go back against Miami, and I thought there were some moments for Felipe Franks, and I thought he was so improved coming off of 2018. But then he really regressed in that second half and made some terrible mistakes, and they were lucky to hold on and win that game. And then I know it was UT Martin last week, but he opens the game 15 for 15. So if you can get an efficient, consistent, non-turnover Felipe Franks, that could be a pretty good Florida team. With that said, you look at Kentucky. I know they've lost 9 straight games against top 10 teams, but Mark Stoops is 13-8 as a dog since 2016. I think defensively they'll be able to hold Florida in check and kind of make them one-dimensional. I think getting over a touchdown here, even with a backup quarterback in Sawyer Smith, I'll take the home dog. I'll back the Wildcats here.
Interesting. Clemson at Syracuse. I don't know if we've seen Clemson's best game. They were very good last week against Texas A&M. They got the win. They've taken on Syracuse the last couple of years. Syracuse has covered both of those games. They got a win in those 2 games as well. Almost got them last year. Did not. Came up just short. Clemson a big favorite again against Syracuse, coming off a tough loss last week.
Well, Dabo's been pretty good in these spots, too. He's 17-9-1 as a favorite since 2017. Of course, one of those losses is me backing him this past Saturday. And you wonder if this is, and I thought last weekend would be one of those revenge games, although it's kind of weird that it was in a win against A&M, but it was so close that people almost felt like A&M had beaten Clemson last year, so I thought that they would take that out on them. Now, I would have felt better about Clemson if this makes any sense, if Syracuse would have beaten Maryland. But now that Syracuse is coming off that whipping to Mike Locksley and that new Terrapin offense, I kind of don't even think this is sneaking up, and I wonder if Clemson will come in flat in this spot. Syracuse is 5-1 at home in 2008, 18 against the number. This is a massive number. I don't feel great about it. If I've got to play it, I think it's going to tick over 28, so I'll probably catch this at more than 4 touchdowns. Tommy DeVito looked better from week 1 against Liberty to week 2 against Maryland. Defense has got to shore some things up, but I'll play Syracuse. I'll take the dog again here.
Interesting matchup with Stanford going to UCF. UCF has been dominant over the last couple of years. They don't lose football games, and it's only 7.5 for the Black Knights as they take on Stanford, who's coming off that loss against USC.
Yeah, and UCF has been another one of these covering machines. You look at their last 26 games out, 17-8-1 against the number. The good news for Stanford is, and really watching that game Saturday night, had a feeling Davis Mills would do nothing, but I was blown away, how good Keaton Slovis looked for USC against that Stanford defense. Stanford's got to play better on the road. I wonder how that's going to travel, especially in that humidity in Orlando. But KJ Costello is back. That's good. Bad news, Walker Little, your left tackle, is going to be out for the year. They are 13-6-1 as a dog since 2011. I kind of like them in this spot. Nobody's given them any shot at all. I think they'll be able to score some points with Costello on UCF. I'm going to be getting more than a touchdown here, so I'm going to play another dog here. I'll take Power 5 on the road against UCF.
Hard to learn things week 1 of the NFL. Did you get anything?
Well, my pick to you guys was Minnesota. I do believe that Minnesota, if they're able to run the football like they did week 1 against Atlanta, 178 yards, and Dalvin Cook, if he can stay healthy, you don't have to have Kirk Cousins beat people. With great wide receivers, Mike Zimmer's defense is going to be really good. I think they could be a surprise team. We all know the New York Giants are horrible. And I said it going into the season, I didn't believe in this Cleveland Browns team. I didn't realize that they would get beat by 30 and have 18 points, and Baker Mayfield and that offensive line would look as bad as they did. But I think we learned they're not going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think we learned that as well. Yeah. That was shocking last week, how not only how bad they lost, but how well Tennessee played.
Yeah.
I mean, Tennessee was shocking too.
Vrabel, and I didn't have an expectation there. Going into the year, before the Luck announcement, I thought it was going to be Houston or Indy like most people did. And then after Luck announced, I said, look, even with this offensive line, Houston will find a way to win that division. Now I'm not so sure. If Derrick Henry's running the football like that and Vrabel's got this defense dialed in, Tennessee could be surprised.
Yeah. You got an NFL pick for us this week?
Yeah, I think this one's kind of easy, too. Not that we're sleeping on the New York Giants. We know how bad they are, but this is a spot where you're only laying 2 with Buffalo. And Buffalo's coming off such an emotional win. They were down 16-0 to New York. Look, they turned the football over 5 times and still on the road beat the New York Jets. I don't expect Josh Allen to play that poorly. We saw how bad that New York Giants defense was. Everybody talks about Dak Prescott's going to break the bank. We need to tap the brakes on that a little bit, because that was a New York Giants defense. I think Josh Allen will play well in this spot. I think Buffalo's defense, I think they shut down New York. I love Buffalo in this spot. I think Buffalo goes to 2-0.
Buffalo minus the 2 this week. Lance, tell us about lanceslock.com and what people can get there.
Yeah, really simple. We won Friday night. We won Saturday. We were 7-2, 5-2 in 7 games over Sunday and Monday. It's $90 a month. It's $3 a day. It's simple. Jump on board with us. We're going to win for you. Everything's documented. We don't make up the numbers. You see the picks each and every day. So go online. Just check us out. Give us 1 month. It's $90. lanceslock.com. You're going to win.
lanceslock.com. Lance, always a pleasure, man. Thank you much. We'll talk next week.
See you guys. Thanks.
All right. Lance Taylor joining us from WJOX in Birmingham. Again, it's lanceslock.com. A couple of other SEC games. Big non-conference tilt for Mississippi State and Starkville this week as they host Kansas State as a 7.5-point favorite in that ball game. The total at 52.5. Joe Moorhead, head coach of the Bullies, talks about Kansas State, his opponent this week.
A big-time non-conference Power 5 game in Davis-Wade Stadium this weekend. The first time a non-conference Power 5 team visits Davis-Wade since Georgia Tech in 2009. It's also the first time we will host a Big 12 opponent at the time of the meeting in Davis-Wade Stadium since Oklahoma State in 1999, and only the 5th time since 2000 that a non-conference Power 5 opponent comes to Davis-Wade Stadium, and just the 4th meeting between Mississippi State and Kansas State, and the 1st in Starkville since 1974. Their head coach, Chris Kleiman, is one of the best coaches in the country at any level, and I think his record indicates that, and really did a great job at the FCS level. His overall coaching record is 74-13 all time, 2-0 at Kansas State.
He sounded like you. He was rattling off stats.
He was, yeah. They won last week over Southern Miss 38-15, despite giving up 344 yards. They had 386 of their own. They have allowed 775 total yards in 2 games. However, State 12-3 against a number of their last 15 at home, and they've won 25 of 26 at home against non-conference opponents. Kansas State 5-1 against the spread in their last 6, 70-47 against a number as a dog since 1992. And head-to-head, the last time they met, Mississippi State won, covered, and that game went under. Arkansas State at Georgia, huge number, 33.5 for Georgia this week. That's big.
That's a lot. It's 5 touchdowns.
57.5 is the total.
Yeah.
You know they'll win. 51-3 at home against non-conference opponents. 68-4 at home against unranked opponents.
You know what? I think they might cover only because I think they might give guys a little more work because they got Notre Dame next week, and that's the big one. And so I think they might, they're kind of easing into this thing. Maybe they open it up a little bit more this week.
Yeah,
or they go the other way and they're like,
right.
Yeah.
63 last week against Murray State, winning that one 63-17. And Arkansas at 10 against Colorado State. That number's actually gone down to 9 now for the Razorbacks. 5-1 against the spread, their last 6 at home. Head-to-head, Colorado State won and covered straight up last year in that matchup at Colorado State. This year it's at Arkansas. Nothing really makes me believe Arkansas is better than the team that lost to Colorado State last year.
No. Out of all those 3 games you just talked about, the one that to me feels like the easiest choice would be Mississippi State over Kansas State. Yeah. And what's it, 7.5?
Yeah.
I think they carry it. Tommy Stevens went 9 for 10 before he got pulled from that game. Supposedly he's fine. But then Kylan Hill's leading the SEC in rushing. Their running back. Like, he's been lights out. So I feel like of those 3 games we just talked about, Mississippi State to me is the safest play.
Yeah, Hill 123 and a touchdown last week in the win for Mississippi State. We will take a break here on the Odds Couple. Come back, have our picks for you as we wrap things up here this week. Getting set for week 3 of the Odds Couple here on Grind City Media.
Heart Love Alive Tour.
Ooh, Barracuda.
And Joan Jett of the Blackhearts.
I don't give a damn about my reputation.
And Nancy Wilson. Heart. Joan Jett of the Blackhearts. Friday, October 4th, FedEx Forum. Heart and Joan Jett of the Blackhearts together. Reserve seats on sale now at LiveNation.com.
Grammy Award winner Ariana Grande has announced additional dates to her Sweetener World Tour with a stop at FedEx Forum this winter on December 7th. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com, by phone at 800-745-3000, or at the FedEx Forum box office. Grammy Award winner Ariana Grande and her Sweetener World Tour, December 7th at FedEx Forum.
Grizz Nation! Download the all-new, all-access, all-in-one Grizzlies mobile app. Get 3 new experiences with one app, including a fresh Grizzlies look and feel, along with new access to FedEx Forum events and Grind City Media news and notes on all things Grizzlies, football, and more. From podcasts to purchasing tickets, playing Pop-A-Shot, and more, the new Grizzlies app has it all. So don't delay. Upgrade your experience and download the new Grizzlies app today. Available now at the App Store and Google Play.
7-time Grammy winner Carrie Underwood is bringing her The Cry Pretty Tour 360 to FedEx Forum on October 23rd. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com, by phone at 800-745-3000, or at the FedEx Forum box office. Carrie Underwood's The Cry Pretty Tour 360, October 23rd at FedEx Forum.
Welcome back to the Odds Couple on GrindCityMedia.com. Live from FedEx Forum and the American Home Shield Studio, here's the odds couple, Rob Fisher and Lang Whitaker.
Get the best seats at the lowest prices. See the Grizz face the Lakers, Warriors, and more with Grizzlies 2019-20 season tickets. MVP season ticket members get exclusive access to special events, seat upgrades, discounts on gear, and more. Season ticket memberships start at $9 per game. Call 901-888-HOOP or click Grizzlies.com to purchase your seats today. We welcome you back to the odds couple, Rob Fisher and Lang Whitaker with you. Memphis Tigers back in action this week and back against an FBS opponent this week as they are on the road to take on South Alabama. Coming in as a 20-point favorite, South Alabama, 57.5 the total on this one. Memphis 2-17, their last 19 non-conference road games. So they've struggled on the road. However, they have won 2 of their last 4. Yeah. So after losing 15 straight, they've come back to win 2 of their last 4. 24-11 against the spread is a 10.5 to 21.5 point favorite since 1992. How's that for a nugget? 18-7 against the spread on the road when the total is between 56.5 and 63. That's good. South Alabama's gone over in 10 of their last 14 and 5 of their last 7 at home. Last 3 years, these two teams have met once. Memphis won the game. South Alabama covered, and the game went over. Mike Norvell talking about the focus of his team this week.
Because we don't have any control of that. You know, their emotion, what they bring into the game, we've got to focus on us. And I think that was something that, even coming off this last week, I don't know if the energy level was what I wanted early in the game against them. And there's a lot of people, well, you're coming off playing an SEC opponent to playing a different opponent. That doesn't matter to me at all. Playing at home, playing on the road. Once again, it doesn't matter. We control us. We have to control us. South Alabama, they've hosted some big games. I mean, they've had Oklahoma State that have come in there. They've had some opponents that are I guess good brands to play. I know they're not worried about what we're bringing. They're focusing on their team, and we got to focus on ours as well.
South Alabama gave Nebraska a handful in Lincoln just a couple of weeks ago as well.
Seems like a lot of people do that.
Well, that is true. Boy, what a disaster that was last week for Nebraska.
We hadn't talked about Memphis today at all, have we? The one thing I would think with them is we haven't seen their offense at its full power. It feels like even against Southern last week, we haven't seen them moving the ball down the field, throwing long passes and that kind of stuff. And I feel like maybe this is the week it breaks out.
And this is the first big challenge, of course, without Tony Pollard as well. And it's going to be very hot down in Mobile as well. One other SEC game, Kent State at Auburn. Auburn, a 35-point favorite. Auburn's 2-0 against the spread this year, 6-2 against the spread in their last 8 games. They've won 40 of 41 against non-conference opponents at home. Under in their 6 of their last 8 at home. Kent State's gone under in 7 of their last 9 and 4 of their last 6 on the road. So under a big one there for Auburn and Kent State, that number at 53. Time now for our picks, and we'll start with Fish's 5. My 5 picks for this week, I'm going with South Alabama plus the 20 against Memphis for what we mentioned. I think first real test without Tony Pollard playing in the heat. South Alabama's a pretty good team. South Alabama covering against Memphis last week. I think Memphis wins the game, but I'll take the 20 points. Alabama minus the 25 against South Carolina. My stupid pick of the week this week is Florida minus the 9 against Kentucky. At least everything trend-wise points to Kentucky, but I just think with the backup quarterback for Kentucky and the Florida Gators, I think Florida responds well and wins by double digits. Taking Ohio State minus the 14 at Indiana. Ohio State's won 5 straight at Indiana. Indiana 81-112 against the spread as a dog. Not a good number there. And I'm taking BYU plus the 4 against USC. BYU 6-1 against the spread their last 7. USC 2-5 against the spread on the road, so I'll go with the Cougs.
Okay.
What about Lang's locks?
Well, I'm going to go the opposite way on Memphis, Alabama. I got South Alabama, that is. I'll take South Alabama. Like I said, I feel like this is the week it finally breaks open for Memphis, and they put up some points. Like you, I got Alabama. I think Florida's going to kill Kentucky. I'm a man of science. Devin and I played this game yesterday on the PlayStation 3. took Terry Wilson out of the lineup for Kentucky, and Florida won by 30-something. So I feel like Florida's going to blow them out in this game. Ohio State, I think Georgia made the wrong choice with Jake Fromm and should have held on to Justin Fields, but that's another conversation we can have. Ohio State's been awesome, and I think that keeps going. For my two picks off the board that we're doing, one of them would be Iowa against Iowa State. I watched – both teams are undefeated, but I watched Iowa State struggle in overtime against Northern Iowa of Week 1. Meanwhile, Iowa's looked pretty good in these first couple of games here. Shut out Rutgers 30-0 last week. It's a 1-point spread, so I'll take that point.
Yeah.
I'll take Iowa.
Yeah. All those picks, by the way, that we made, they are part of the Grind City Media Pick'em panel that comes out each week. It'll come out tomorrow. You can get it on all the social media and also at grindcitymedia.com and check that out. All the members of Grind City Media will make their picks for 8 games this week. Those 5 that we picked are part of that panel, so check that out. Coming out tomorrow. But we do like to make a pick off the grid. Where are you going?
I'm going Maryland. Like we talked about earlier.
They've been good.
Lance brought them up. They've been awesome. I mean, I know they haven't really been tested, and maybe teams are going to start figuring out how to slow down that offense, but they're putting up points, and it's a 7-point spread this week, so I'll go with the Terps.
Roser, you get a pick. Where are you going this week?
Oh, well, I got college and NFL for you.
All right, give us the college one
college
first.
and NFL. So I'm going to stick with Ohio State because it's one I have already put money on. Ohio State, I got it at 15.5. It's up to 16.5 right now at most places. As long as that thing stays under 17, or if it gets to 17 by the half to get it to 16.5. Ohio State has beaten Indiana by 23, 28, and 21 each of the last 3 years. The line has never been this low before. I don't know why people think Indiana's decent or good or whatever. Ohio State fans travel. They'll dominate this. There'll be 40 to 50% Ohio State fans in this stadium. Early start. Ohio State, their third straight early start. I don't think they have any problems. NFL, I'm going with Lang's Falcons here. Sunday night home opener in Atlanta. The Falcons 10-1 against the spread in their last 11 home openers. This is a Philadelphia defense that just lost Malik Jackson for the rest of the year on the defensive line, and a Philadelphia defense, mind you, favored by 10 points over the Redskins, could not cover that number. We're down 17-0, allowed Case Keenum to throw for 380 yards against them. They are going to be facing a much better quarterback and a much better receiving core, and that's going to be a rowdy environment. Falcons plus 1.5. You could buy it up to +2 if you want to on Sunday night against the Eagles.
What's your NFL game?
I'm a Falcons fan. I'm staying away from the Falcons. They've been laying too many eggs lately.
Yeah.
I emailed you on Sunday, or I guess Monday, with my pick this week, and I wanted the Patriots given 14.5 to the Dolphins, and at this point, it's up to 19.
Yeah.
It's like people are once the word got out that all the Dolphins players, that multiple Dolphins players requested a trade after the game last week, and as good as the Patriots looked, I know that now there's like Antonio Brown questions happening, but I feel like that team is so focused and
they can't get distracted.
Impenetrable. Yeah, so I feel like they're going to be fine. 14 points, 19 points, whatever. I'm taking the Pats.
Yeah, Patriots going against the worst team in the league in Miami. I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens against the second worst team in the league. I think the Arizona Cardinals somehow pulled off the tie last week against Detroit. It's a big number in that one as well. 13.5 for the Ravens. We saw what the Ravens did to the worst team in the league last week, Miami. They're at home this week and expect big things again from Lamar Jackson. So I'll take the Ravens minus the 13.5. My college pick off the grid this week, I'm going with Vinnie Verno. I'm going UCF minus the 7.5 against Stanford. This is a team that's just won 24-25. They're 19-7 against the spread, 11-3 against the spread as a favorite. It's a team that's just been making money week after week after week the last few years. So I'll go UCF at home.
One thing about the Ravens, Lamar Jackson's been awesome. He throws the ball like Uncle Rico. You notice?
Yes,
exactly like Uncle Rico.
Well, it worked last week very well. We'll see how it works against Arizona this week. All right, that's going to do it for this week's edition of The Odds Couple. Don't forget to check out the Grind City Media Pick'em panel. That'll be unveiled tomorrow, where everyone involved with Grind City Media. We got our picks against the spread for some of the big games coming up this weekend, so you can check that out as well. Lang and I will be back with you again next week as we'll preview Week 4. Enjoy all the Week 3 action this week in college football, and of course enjoy week 2 of the National Football League this week as well. For Roser and for Kimball and for Vinnie Verno and Lance Taylor, I'm Rob. Thank you, Lang. We'll be back next week for another edition of The Odds Couple.
You've been listening to The Odds Couple from the American Home Shield Studio on GrindCityMedia.com. Tune in next week for more football handicapping with Rob Fischer and Lang Whitaker.